Hey y'all, Amy C. Willis here. I am a sobriety and mindset coach, an EFT practitioner, and a meditation teacher. And I'm here today to bring you a global tapping session on letting go. So I think that this is something that we all struggle with from time to time, whether it's something that somebody said or a situation or even a memory of a situation that happened a long time ago. Sometimes we get stuck in those patterns and those ruminating thoughts and we just can't let it go for a variety of reasons. So I created this tapping session to really support you in the process of letting that shit go, because at the end of the day, it doesn't serve you, nothing changes, and it takes up a huge amount of mental and emotional energy that you could totally put into other things. So, as per usual, when you think about, I really want you to tune in to how you feel about something that you're currently hanging on to that you can't seem to just release. So I want you to, if you need to pause this video to really kind of get into it, to think about the situation, to think about the time that you spend going over it in your head and the impact that that has, right? Because it does have an impact. I want you to really tune in and tap in to how that situation makes you feel and your inability to let it go. And I want you to rate yourself on the distress scale. So it's a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all distressed, 10 being very distressed about the issue. So make sure you capture that, write it down as your before number so that we can see if there's any progress or movement on how it's impacting you. So let's get into it. We'll start at the karate chop point. Even though I struggle with letting things go, I deeply love, forgive, and accept myself. Even though I struggle with letting things go, I deeply love, forgive, and accept myself. Even though I struggle with letting things go, I deeply love, forgive, and accept myself. I find I often mentally hold on to things for a long time. I ruminate on things almost obsessively. It takes up a lot of mental and emotional space for me. And the thoughts gnaw away at me. I struggle to let things go sometimes. It's not always clear why this is, or why I choose to hold on to things as long as I do. I have a very strong sense of right and wrong, or a clear idea about how certain situations should be handled. And sometimes I struggle when watching others do things in ways that don't make sense to me. I also like to have control over things. So when people or situations happen that are out of my control, or in ways that don't make sense to me, I struggle with it, and I struggle to understand why. And it eats away at me. I feel trapped in some of my thought patterns. I can't get the event or situation out of my head. I go over it again and again and again. It feels obsessive. I have a hard time getting out of this cycle. I spend way too much time and energy ruminating on situations. It's a waste of my time and energy. But I don't know how to break the pattern. It causes a lot of stress and anxiety for me, which I'd rather not feel. But I'm stuck in this loop. I'd like to find a new experience, but I don't know how. So let's just pause here. Feel free to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Take a few deep inhales and a few deep exhales and just notice how you're feeling in your body. Notice if you feel more anxious or more stressed, which is perfectly natural because we're actually putting voice to some of the things we've been carrying around in our bodies. Excuse me, and on our hearts. So if you want to pause this video and just sit with it, please feel free to do that. I really want you to tune into what you're feeling. We're going to move on to the positive round, but before we do that, I want you to make sure that you capture how you're feeling again on that distress scale. So if your numbers stayed the same or if it went up, that's totally regular. If it went down, that's okay too. So we're going to get into the positive. Even though I struggle with letting things go, I deeply love, forgive, and accept myself. I've been in a pattern of ruminating on situations for a while now. It's been so draining, as it requires a lot of mental and emotional energy to repeatedly go over the same situation. It causes me a lot of stress, upset, and emotional distress. And I'm ready for a new experience now. I want to release the mental hold on things that I've had. It's actually not serving me at all. It doesn't feel good for me in any way to relive the experience or the situation. It doesn't change the reality of the situation for anyone. It's a huge waste of my energetic resources. So I'm ready to create a new experience now. This will require a new way of thinking about things and a new mindset. I am willing to move into a mindset of acceptance. Accepting that others are different than I am. Accepting that they may choose to handle situations differently than me. And to be okay with that. Their choices impact their lives. So I'm willing to let that go now. I'm willing to accept that there are lots of things that are out of my control. And that's okay. I don't actually want to be in control of everything and everyone at all times. That sounds very exhausting when I think about it. Instead of getting wrapped up and obsessing over the things that I can't control, I will instead focus on what I can control, which is what I think about, the energy I show up with, how I care for myself, how I treat other people, how I spend my time and energy. I will focus on what is within my control and release what is not. It doesn't help me to obsess over things that I can't alter. So I'm letting that go now. I'm willing to step into the idea that it's okay to not understand everything and everyone around me. Even though I desire to understand what motivates people and their decisions, I am willing to release some of my need to understand now. Because there will inevitably be situations and people that simply don't make sense to me. And despite my best efforts, I simply won't understand them. And I'm willing to be okay with that. I don't have to understand everyone's actions and motivations at all times. In many cases, I'm trying to understand something that simply isn't my business anyway. So I'm going to release my need to understand everything and everyone now. Letting go is a practice, and I'm willing to practice it now. I'm practicing letting go now. I am clear that worrying about and ruminating on things is a huge waste of my time and energy. And I don't want to keep participating in that cycle. I am releasing the need to control everything now. I am okay to not understand everything. I am okay to not control everything. I am moving into a place of acceptance now. I am ready to let things go with grace and ease. And so it is. So again, we will pause here, and if it feels good, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and just notice, get curious about what's happening in your body. Do you feel energetic movement? Do you feel a sense of lightness or heaviness? Do you feel any sensations? Just notice, get curious about what's happening for you. And again, check in on that scale. So when you think back to where you started from and where you are now, have you noticed a shift? So ideally, as you move through the rounds, and I invite you to keep doing it, I would love to get you to a 1 or a 2 on the scale so that you are feeling a noticeable sense of relief from the issue. So whether it's going back to the negative round and doing the positive after that, or if it's just doing multiple positive rounds, follow your intuition, do what feels good for you. That wraps up our tapping session today on letting go. I hope that that was in service to you. I hope that you found value in that. Stay tuned for more content. If you have any questions about this or other sessions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I do also offer one-on-one customized tapping sessions to people so that we can really dig into whatever the issue at hand is for you, and really address the underlying root cause of that issue so that you can release and process and heal. So reach out with questions, or if you have any interest in that. Otherwise, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to do something for yourself. And I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you soon.